Hey guys, Danny back again from the Connections with another episode of Gnomenclature. So of course you guys know I have this insane backlog of games and I'm constantly trying to keep my games, padded down a bit so I can kind of get through some old stuff instead of trying to play all the new ones that I buy. But basically that's what this whole series is about. I do everything that okay, you know what? Okay, fine. We'll talk about it. I'll mention. Okay, you're looking at the wall, right? You're like, dang, where'd all the amiibo go? Okay, look. Well, the basic point is we're moving. So my family and I are moving to a new place. It's much bigger than the place we currently have, and I'm super excited to finally move in. So we've basically been in this house the entirety of my life, since I was about 2 years old. And I love this place, but I have a family of 5, with everybody being above 18, there's just no space for anybody. So thank God we found a nice place that's much bigger, and there'll be an additional room, which ideally I will have a bedroom and an office, so that way I can have my bed and everything else in one room, and then I have the computer, the consoles, the TV, my workstation in another room. So I'm excited for that. But until then, I gotta get stuff packed up. I gotta start getting the non-essentials out of the house, which means all 140 of those amiibo that were hanging around this wall, they had to get boxed up and moved into the storage unit. But for now, that blue's a little bit bright. Yeah, I picked that color when I was 13. Sorry. But yeah, let me fix that. Shart. Whew, alright, that's a lot nicer. And now, welcome back to your featured presentation. So that's right, I've played 3 more games to completion, and it's time for another installment of Look What I Finally Played! Was that cool? Did you guys like that? Too over the top? I kind of liked it. So the first game I'm going to talk about today is called Deadlight. Deadlight is a 2.5D platformer where you play as Randall Wayne, a gritty middle-aged man who's trying to survive during the apocalypse. You and your crew of fellow survivors get separated while running from a horde of shadows. They're sort of like zombies, but they're more like these black, hazy figures that tend to dissolve into dust when you kill them. Now to me they come across more as some kind of personified nightmare, and I think this is backed up by the various flashbacks to Randall's past throughout the game. Now one of my favorite things about Deadlight is how it uses the 2.5D perspective to bring something new to the zombie genre. Most survival games are either first or third person shooters, with a few exceptions here and there. So having a game that takes place in the same type of setting, that is literally giving us a different perspective on it, is really dope. The game has this dark graphic novel aesthetic, and I like it a lot. But sometimes it ends up working against itself. It reminds me of the indie hit Limbo, but not necessarily in a good way. Randall has a similar silhouetted appearance, but I don't think the world of Deadlight really allows for it to function well. There's either so much detail in the world that Randall stands out in a way where he feels like he doesn't belong, or the background's just as dark as Randall, and you end up losing yourself in all the darkness. Now when it comes to the gameplay of Deadlight, it sort of rides the fence of weird controls, but you'll get used to them. Now throughout my playthrough I constantly found myself thinking, man, the team at Tequila Works must really like the dramatic run and leap to safety bit, because you have to do it so freaking much. But there is this awesome scene towards the end of the game, where you have to run through a neighborhood, jumping from house to house, window to window, avoiding shadows below. It gave me this Ferris Bueller's Day Off vibe. But I've never actually seen Ferris Bueller's, so it's more like Spider-Man Homecoming doing a parody of Ferris Bueller. Wow, I'm sorry, I'm making a lot of MCU references today. Okay, nope. Nope, that was the last one. We're good. So the gunplay in this game is pretty unique, in the way that you don't automatically reload when you empty a clip like you do in most games. If you empty your clip, you have to manually reload it, and if you don't, you might end up screwing yourself in the long run. I enjoy this mechanic because it makes being aware of my actions in-game that much more important. I also want to mention how the VO for Randall is really strange. Now, it's not bad by any means, but it kind of sounds like he's going for like a 90s action movie narrator kind of voice.
The new law. They mark their kills. That's some kind of message. As if this world isn't already dark enough.
In a world where this guy showed up to the wrong gig at the right time, meet Randall Wayne, zombie survivor, coming to a theater near you. It's honestly just a bit out of place, but I wouldn't say it's too distracting. Now, I was considering going back to get the platinum for this game, but after I got a look at the trophy list and saw I had to replay the whole campaign on Nightmare mode, I lost interest. Now, depending on the length of the game, I usually don't mind replaying a game just to get a platinum, but I personally just didn't have enough fun with Deadlight to warrant a second playthrough. Now, fasten your seatbelts because we are going to be talking about trophies a little bit more in this video. It's It's not a good day for trophy hunting. All in all, this game is perfectly alright, but it's not something I ever see myself playing through again. However, if you've heard my thoughts about this game and still think it looks interesting, give it a shot. Might just be a perfect game. Alright, so the next game we're going to talk about is called Furi. And it's aptly named because this game pissed me off. Furi is an action shoot 'em up, with a balanced mix of range and melee combat. The basic plot is that you're a prisoner in some weird, multi-dimensional prison, and your plan to escape is to kill every one of the guards and break out. And in between each guard, you travel through these gorgeous environments, while your new friend the Voice, I like to call him the Rabbit, tells you some backstory. The world starts to take on multiple new aesthetics, as well as defying gravity by rotating the world on its side. Almost like something right out of Doctor Strange. Damn it, I missed that one. Okay, now that really is the last one. But the controls in this section are sort of whack. Half the time the camera starts flipping back and forth, and your directional inputs get all turned around. Luckily, you can just hit X on the DualShock, and you'll autopilot through it. Now the combat in Furi is super fun. It's a non-stop onslaught of bullets, parries, and sword slashes that keep you on your toes for the entirety of each battle. That being said, Furi is insanely difficult. A trend in modern games seems to be make a game that's going to kick the player's ass until they figure out how to avoid it, or get extremely lucky and win. Now I don't think this is a bad thing, I actually kind of enjoy it to a degree. Cuphead is exactly this, and that's one of my favorite games from the last few years. But I think Furi's difficulty is a detriment to the entire game. So to start the game, you have to pick your difficulty, which is nothing uncommon in video games. It's recommended that you choose Furi, where the game is balanced to be challenging and demanding. It's going to be tough, but you will enjoy the adrenaline of combat. So this is the difficulty that I went with. And to start, it was pretty manageable. On my first night playing, I beat the first 4 bosses: the chain, the strap, the line, and the scale. Now these bosses were absolutely not easy, so I felt challenged every time I died to figure out what mistakes I made and how to correct them in the following run. And then it took on the hand and the song. These bosses were even more difficult to deal with. They required a lot of skill and accurate timing, with little to no room for error. But after these 2 fights, I hit a wall. A very elegant wall that used a sniper rifle and a bunch of exploding drones. The burst. I spent 3 days trying to beat the burst and just couldn't do it. I was constantly dying, and whenever I thought I figured out how to win, she threw something new at me that just put me in my place. After putting my blood, sweat, and tears into finally getting to her final stage, I still couldn't beat her. She produced an endless barrage of lasers, bullets, and explosions that I just couldn't survive, even if I got to that stage with full health. Sadly, I both mentally and physically couldn't handle this fight anymore, so I had to admit defeat and lower the difficulty to Promenade, the easiest difficulty in the game. But then I came to discover that this mode is way too easy. I beat the sniper in Promenade mode on my first try. Now obviously the muscle memory of playing on a harder difficulty came in handy, but the battle is severely dumbed down from 6 stages to 3. When I lowered the difficulty, I expected it to just be slightly easier. I take less damage, enemies take more damage, slower or fewer attacks, etc. But moving it down to Promenade makes it so the game is simply no fun anymore. So trophies that require me to beat the game in the hardest difficulty are already a major turnoff for me. So I had no intention of platinuming Furi. But I hate that if you switch difficulty in the middle of the campaign, you can no longer earn trophies for defeating each boss. Another downside to changing the difficulty is that they don't grade you on your playthrough. It basically makes you feel like you haven't accomplished anything. It's basically like a teacher telling you halfway through a test that it's open note, but marking you absent for the day. Now I think Furi could have greatly benefited from having 2 additional difficulties, a medium easy and a medium hard. Modes where I get the same length and quality of a boss fight with more and less intensity. But with Furi, you either get way too hard or way too easy. And sadly, this is a huge reason I personally can't recommend this game to many people. Which really sucks because the combat is super fun. Some of the best combat I've ever felt in an indie game. And with the art style and beautiful cinematics, I want this game to be amazing. But I cannot get over how sucky those difficulty settings are. And now, onto the final game for this episode, Hitman II. My first Hitman game was Absolution back on the 360, and I absolutely loved it. And then I gave the rebooted Hitman from 2016 a shot. But taking any game that's more than just choosing prompts of dialogue and making it episodic is just not a great idea. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Final Fantasy VII Remake. Come on. Just one big game, that's all I want. But anyway, I finished the first 2 chapters, but never really had the drive to go back. But when they announced they were making a sequel, and it wasn't episodic, it felt like the right moment to get back into the franchise. And I did. For a day. Sorry, IO Interactive. But you shouldn't have released your game at the same time as the Spyro Reignited trilogy. But now I finally took the time to reinstall and play through the campaign of Hitman 2. So I'll get this out of the way because I realize it's not that important to many of you, but Hitman 2 doesn't even have a platinum trophy. Lame. Okay, now on to the actual game. In Hitman 2, you return to the shoes of Agent 47, who's just as dry, dull, and boring as always. But this game is still insanely fun. As Agent 47, you're tasked to go after various targets, some of which are drug dealers and some are human traffickers, and then there are more that are somewhere in between. Either way you slice it, they're all about to die. Now at face value, Hitman 2 appears to be super short because of its 6-mission campaign. But each mission can take a really long time to complete. Sometimes it can take 15 to 20 minutes, maybe even longer, waiting for the opportunity to actually do something worthwhile. You need to discover your target, find the best way to take them out, and execute it properly. And there are a lot of ways to kill your target. Roaming around the world to the various levels, you'll be able to intercept intel about how to take advantage of your hit's schedules, weaknesses, deep dark secrets, and more. So for example, in the mission Another Life, there's a block party in a small neighborhood. And very much like most neighbors, every one of them is nosy and obnoxious. But you can use this to your advantage. There are 2 men having a conversation about your target, Nolan Cassidy, who is looking to buy a house in the neighborhood. So if you choose to continue down this path, there's a realtor with the keys to Cassidy's potential new home, hanging out by the muffin stand. Now you want to take care of this guy, whether that means killing him or just knocking him out. That's entirely up to you. Then you want to take his keys and clothing, make yourself acquainted with Nolan Cassidy, and take him on a tour of his new abode, alongside his scientist bodyguard? After walking around the house for a while, you end up in the basement, where there's a laser grid security system. You'll want to deactivate it, lead Cassidy into the room, silently sneak out without being noticed, reactivate it, and... No, don't turn it! Boom. And this is just one of the many ways you can take out one of your targets that you need to eliminate in this game. There are so many alternate routes that it's a bit overwhelming at first, but with time and a bit of exploration, I think anyone can grow to love it. I know for me personally, as more Hitman games release, it becomes more daunting and I feel less capable of actually playing them. Now there are a lot of times where I just do not have the patience for certain targets, so I just whip out the good old silenced pistol, pop a cap or 2 in their head, and sprint to the exit point to hear the victory music. That sounds oddly like the Uncharted theme. The story of Hitman 2 isn't in the plot, it's in your experiences, your adventures, your water cooler moments about how you killed a guy by stabbing him in the throat with a tattoo gun while dressed up as a douchey TV pop star. The story of Hitman 2 ends up becoming not what Agent 47 is experiencing, but what you're experiencing. The journey you took and the choices you made, and I think I can confidently say that this is my favorite part about Hitman 2. But even after you finish the campaign, there is still plenty left to do. Firstly, you get the entire campaign of Hitman 1. That alone is worth it. But you also get Ghost Mode, which is a 1v1 assassination race that's still in beta for some reason. But I guess so is Fortnite, so. And then there's Patient Zero, which is the paid DLC expansion that features 4 new missions with revised versions of the existing maps. There's also Sniper Assassin, where you take aim with your insanely powerful sniper rifle, which I did a video on a while back if you want to check that out. And lastly, there's the Elusive Target mode, which is a limited time event that is updated on a regular basis, where you're given a new target to eliminate. There's a lot to play here, and you can find this game now sometimes as low as $18. Hitman 2 is an entertaining game, with a vast variety of options to keep you ingrained in its campaign and various modes for hours and hours. Well guys, that is the second installment of Look What I Finally Played. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure you leave a thumbs up below. And also comment if you played any of these games. If you have differing opinions, I'd love to have a discussion about why you like a game that I didn't, or why you hate a game that I loved. Or if you have any suggestions or ideas of older games that you think I've never played, leave them in the comments. Maybe they'll be in a future episode of Look What I Finally Played. But I also want to take the time to thank every single one of you who found your way to the channel because of the Y2K video. That video went from about 30 views to 22,000 views. And we've gained almost 350 new subscribers. It honestly feels super rewarding to know that so many of you enjoyed that video and you're willing to subscribe and stick around to see what future content I bring. And for those of you with your snarky comments about how blurry the last video is, well, look at me now. See? You can see I have the posters, everything crystal clear. There's not a single thing wrong. So you can take your comments and you can shove them up. Aw, damn it. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Now, throughout my playthrough, I constantly found myself thinking, man, the team at Tequila works. Man, the team at Tequila works. This is a sweaty armpit. Yeah. It's hot in here. I can't have the AC on when I record. Bye.